Lesson 1.2, Transformations of Linear and Absolute Value Functions. Our essential question today, how do you write functions representing translations? Today we're going to take a closer look at what it means to be stretching and shrinking. So I have an F rule. This is my F rule. It wants me to rewrite him and call him G. And when I call him G, they want me to do a horizontal shrink. So that is my very first translation. I'm supposed to shrink horizontally. Now, what does that mean? From the cheat sheet we did at the very beginning, our summary sheet. Horizontal shrink. Horizontals are always going to be inside. And if it's a shrink, you're supposed to multiply by the reciprocal. So I want to, on the inside, multiply by the reciprocal. But the reciprocal of what? It tells us that right here, by the factor of 1 over 3. So if I am supposed to reciprocal that, 1 over 3 meant you need to flip the fraction, because that's what reciprocal means. I now have the fraction 3 over 1, which is the same thing as 3. So on the inside, I am multiplying by the reciprocal, which meant I needed to multiply by 3. And we're going to call the guy G, because that's what they told us to call him G. So I need to write a G rule. How do I write the G rule? They said to take F, and on the inside, I needed to multiply by 3. So here is me taking F, and on the inside, I had to multiply by 3. So here is me multiplying by my 3. Now to actually do that, I have to take this entire F rule, which is this rule up here. I cannot just write X anymore. I need to write 3X now. So my G rule is the absolute value of, whoop, I can't say X. I had to say 3X. So this is now 3X. The rest of the problem will remain exactly as it was. So little note to self, how did I do this? So in the old f of x equation up here that I had, what did I do? Instead of writing x, I wrote a 3x because I was supposed to multiply the x on the inside by 3. And this is my equation. Our next problem, we have an F rule. They want us to rewrite one and call him G. And they told us to do a horizontal stretch. Now, horizontal stretch meant that I did the inside because horizontal was always on the inside. Stretching meant that I had to multiply by a reciprocal. And what was that reciprocal of? Right here, it told me to do it of the factor 2. So if I was multiplying by a reciprocal, and I needed to reciprocal the 2, I take the fraction 2 and I flip it. I now have a 1/2. So on the inside, I am supposed to multiply by 1/2. They told me to call him G. So here is my G, and it said on the inside, so here is the F rule. On the inside of this F rule, I had to multiply him by 1/2. So here is me saying, hey, look, I'm actually multiplying on the inside by 1/2. So I now need to take this entire F rule, which is this F rule up here, and I can't just say X. I have to say 1/2 X. So instead of this X right here, I have to write 1/2 X. So here's my G rule. It said absolute value of 4, and whoop, I can't say X. I had to say 1/2 X, and that says plus 2, and that's the end of the absolute value. 4 and 1/2 X are connected by multiplication, and they are both inside the absolute value. So I actually need to multiply this and figure out what I have. So G of X is 4 times 1/2 is 2. So this is 2X plus 2. I can't take anything in and out of the absolute value, so there is nothing further to do, and this is my final answer. So our next problem, they want us to call this guy H. So we're coming up with a new rule. His rule is going to be H. And they told us to do a vertical stretch. Now a vertical stretch is an outside move, and if it's vertical stretches, you're just multiplying by the factor that they gave you. So we're going to just multiply by the factor. And what factor did they give me? I'm looking, and it says to do it by a factor of 2, which meant that on the outside, I am going to just multiply by 2. So here is my G rule. You said on the outside, I needed to multiply by 2. So here's me saying, hey, there's 2 on the outside, and I need to multiply it by the f rule. So g of x is, here is the 2 multiplied on the outside, but I'm supposed to multiply by the entire f rule. This entire f needs to go in here so that everything in that f gets multiplied by 2. So I have the absolute value of x minus 3, and that's minus 5. 2 gets to multiply to the absolute value, and 2 needs to get multiplied to the minus 5. You cannot multiply to the inside of the absolute value. So 2 times an absolute value is literally 2 times the absolute value. Now 2 times a minus 5 is a minus 10. You cannot combine like terms in and out of an absolute value. So this is my final answer, and I am done. Our last problem, they give us a rule F. They want us to write a rule H. Last time I forgot to name him H. I accidentally named him G, so I'm going to write H so I don't forget this time. We need to do a vertical shrink. Verticals are outside moves, and if I'm shrinking, I am still just going to multiply by the factor, but that factor better be smaller than 1 for it to be a shrink, and it is. I see they told me to use the factor 1/3. So on the outside, I am going to multiply by 1/3. So on the outside of the F rule, I'm supposed to multiply by 1/3. So I'm going to rewrite it. So here is my 1/3. I need to write the entire F rule inside of these brackets, so all of F actually gets multiplied. So the F rule was the absolute value of x minus 3. The 1/3 needs to get multiplied to the absolute value and to the minus 3. So my H rule, 1/3 times absolute value of x is literally the 1/3 times the absolute value of x. 1/3 times a minus 3 is a minus 1. Cannot combine like terms in and out of the absolute value. So this is our final answer, and we are done.